All right. Well, I guess um, I'm not sure I'll have the energy to do this tomorrow. So let's just continue with, as far as I know, the last video. Uh, I just got a comment. Fuck, good God, take a break. No, that makes me certain. So Robert Plant is going. See, you're making me sink lower than ever before, but you do look like Robert Plant. Now, I feel okay about this because I think Robert Plant is one of the best rock and roll blues singers. Let's just say rock and roll. The blues is a stretch. Possible. Um, but he was great, and especially in Led Zeppelin. So, I mean, it's a compliment. Take it as a compliment.
All right, another Pyrrho video. Hopefully the last. We'll keep trying anyway for the last. The last in this form where you have 7 subjects in one video. Really, no point. And the last in the sense of this crap about who said what when and all that shit. I don't think you have any. I don't think there's any defense for your argument. That I have changed the position or had positions you've argued I've had. I think they're just blatant and grotesque lies, and I think most of the people who even watch your videos can't come up with any clips or any proof that I've said the things you say I've said or changed the positions you say I've changed. It's bullshit. And the record.
Okay, well, the people that watch my videos mostly don't agree with me on anything. So I'm not going to be looking to them. Um, so I don't know what that's about. But I did get you to make this scientific theory. I did train you a little bit on thermodynamics and how the speed of light works, and that the double slit experiment was the big problem that you had, so you created a whole scientific theory to deal with that. And there's just as many things that you haven't wised up that I've been trying to tell you, which, like, go back to IRV, go back to including local politics and the corruption, because people don't know that how many hundreds of millions of dollars are corruptly wasted, and they think the federal government is the biggest corruption. It has more scrutiny. It's local. You probably know that. So these things you won't learn, but a couple you've had. A couple things you have shown the ability to learn, and I think it's wonderful.
Of the bullshit is the last 2 years of controversy between us because it's always about this bullshit. So fuck you. All right. So the subject of vegetarianism. So he's the one changing the position, right? So in the last video.
And by the way, you said, "Oh, the last couple of years." No, from the first time you ever blocked me was because you said some bullshit about something seeming to go twice the speed of light, and I'm like, "No, that's the point of relativism. That isn't true." And you said, "That's unfair."
He's arguing that somehow humans are meat eaters by nature, which is bullshit. And so now his statement is we shouldn't eat meat. So he's conceding the argument, and he's basically stating that
I have conceded. I can't tell you which video I've made years ago, but I have said this forever. When I started eating meat again, I didn't decide it was more moral than what I'd been doing. Amazingly, I, like you, sometimes make decisions that aren't the most moral. Unlike you, I can admit it.
okay, I still eat meat. I probably shouldn't. I don't eat that much. I try to do this, but yeah, I fail. Yeah, and where did I say that's not an acceptable answer? I accept that answer. What I don't accept is your argument that we shouldn't eat meat just means absolutely nothing. It means something like we shouldn't rape, but I'll give people the right to rape. Now, if that's the qualifier of that statement, we shouldn't eat meat, and that means that, well, somebody else chooses to eat meat, it's okay, though. Then what's the point? It's no value. It doesn't mean anything. We shouldn't. Why? Because
it gives a direction in which we're trying to go. And what we know is that people do follow their values. And if your values are exactly how you behave, then you think you're perfect. So it's actually better to have values that you're trying to live up to so that you can change how you live.
where something overt like child labor or rape, okay, you'll concede. But you won't concede that this problem is a real problem. So again, it's just an empty statement. We shouldn't eat meat. It's just lip service. Because you won't give it any meaning in terms of creating
No, it's a real problem, I said.
system to winnow the human race off meat, to tax it or something, like cigarettes, like it is a real vice, like it is a thing to be discouraged. But will instead apply your libertarian standard of people have the right to choose their own solutions. Well, their solution is to torture. And that's not an acceptable solution where I'm sitting, and I can analogize it.
When did I ever say that I wouldn't penalize it like cigarettes or something? I mean, you're the one that says don't penalize cigarettes. I mean, I would tax it for its cost on the nation. For example, every cow eats all these corn off of tens or maybe 100 acres that could be feeding people directly. People that can't afford that cow, say. Um, I mean, I don't know. You have to do the actual math on and something like that. But that would be a negative that's even separate from the moral thing of killing the cow and how the cow has to live. But the whole thing is fucked up. I have admitted that, and maybe you should just try admitting one of your moral failings, if you have any.
To other things done in history where people are marginalized for convenience and abused. And that's all this sounds like to me is an excuse for slavery or concentration camps. If you take it seriously, if you understand the real harm, harm is harm. So
Yeah, no doubt. When slavery was going on, there were probably people that bought goods that were made by slaves and were like, this is fucked up. I don't know what to do. I can't go anywhere but Walmart. I'm too poor myself, or whatever. And there's a certain reality. Like I said, all my clothes are made in the United States. What about your clothes?
fuck that bullshit. All right. Then the argument of insects. Again, I've never changed a position on this. I've always made the same argument. I've been making arguments for at least 5 years now.
Right, but we've been talking for more than that. Like, we've been talking like something like 12 years, maybe even. Definitely about 10.
When I myself discovered that the mechanism of learning is the one fundamental to the creation of sensation. Because to learn in your own life, not genetic learning, not
Yeah, I probably taught you that.
some kind of, I'm trying to think of an example of a mechanical response mechanism that really isn't learning. Conditioning isn't necessarily learning, but learning where you actually have to be rewarded or punished for getting the right or the wrong answer for positive results. And that would be necessary to have a reward and punishment system to create a mechanism of learning. You have to have the word no, the word stop, or there has to be the negative.
So you discovered behavioralism. So like most science, you're 100 years out of date, but it's better than what you had before.
For the idea of wrong answer. That's why there's buzzers. Ding, ding, when you get the right answer, and when you get the wrong answer. Because it's duplicating the process of learning. And I've made that argument for at least the last 5 years consistently. There's no dispute on insects.
Right, but I've been talking to you for more than 10 years.
And other organisms that have very, very, very tiny brains and do a very, very limited amount of learning through scientific investigation. They're hard to teach or train to do anything, and therefore it can be...
That sounds like you, Gary.
Anything called a sensation. But for most of the insects, most of the ones we see...
Well, that's so insulting. How disgusting that I would say something like that about somebody else instead of just call them a cunt.
In the sense that it just makes the problem of sensation that much deeper and harder to solve, because you're not going to fix the slavery that exists in nature in the insect world.
Here's where you're making those good Gary sounding words that we like.
Freddy's nightmare kind of existences.
Yep.
You say it's okay to kill most living things as children. Yes, that would be my argument. So he says,
No.
I'll make the exact accusation. He says he's not defending it. He's just saying there's good and bad things in nature. Well, that's the same as a defense. When I say it's not good enough and you say, but I think there's good and bad things. Well, then what does that mean? Does that mean that it's a good thing that most of the things killed by nature are children?
I appreciate the way you're asking this at this last 5 seconds worth. I think I said that nature has good and evil, and some of it I condemn. I condemn the evil in nature, but I don't condemn nature itself. I believe nature is sort of a beyond good and evil, where what we do is when there's evil in nature, like an old lady who worked hard her whole life and a bunch of people love her and or even don't, and now there's a storm and she's going to be crushed. If we can prevent that, then that's fine, but we don't really like say the hurricane was an immoral creature. That would be stupid, but we do fight it just like we would fight a criminal that was trying to attack her.
It's good, that's okay, it's acceptable. That's the price you're willing to pay. Well, it's not a price I think anyone should be willing to pay, and I don't think we should be allowed to do it without gaining consent. So I think your pro-life argument is empty and vacuous and doesn't deal with the real fact that you're imposing harm without any demonstration of an actual good. Intellectual emotions like curiosity. So he applied that to being only a mammalian function. I don't think it's an emotion in the first place, curiosity. The fact that organisms would have a desire to investigate would be conducive to their survival. So I would argue that they're
I did not say it was only a mammalian. Curiosity, I said, is certainly throughout mammalians. But I would actually say that curiosity probably goes throughout all life forms. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was some life form that showed, a marked lack of curiosity. So that's the only reason I wouldn't say that. But as far as from single-celled life forms to complex life forms, some all along that vertical spectrum, have a curious nature. Curiosity is risky, so your more hardy microbes might be the ones that explore more. And what drives exploration in a living creature is a feeling of curiosity. You could have a single-celled creature conceivably that had really no noticeable function of emotions other than pleasure, pain, and curiosity. That would really be enough to generate behavior at the simple level of a single-celled life form.
probably experiencing that on the reptilian level and every other level. I even brought up reptiles. Do you think reptiles are conscious? I can't have made it more clear. I'm just saying, go ask Edible Napalm if he thinks I haven't said the word neuron enough. Because I think Edible Napalm will say that, yes, Gary has said the word neuron enough times. He really shouldn't have to say it any more times because he's said it so many times that everybody's sick of hearing the fucking word. So I think I've made it clear that I believe consciousness is a function of neurons, and that obviously lizards have.
Kalens is in the chat, and I just want to. Hey, Kalens, is this guy a Napalm fan or what? Big boner for Napalm. Trying to deny it. Lady doth protest too much. Please don't grab his pussy. That would be inappropriate. That is too much liberty to take. I don't care if Trump is president.
An extensive number of neurons, billions, quite capable of manifesting consciousness. Anyway, and they're obviously quite capable of learning tricks and such. All right, so obviously I have argued consistently that I associate all mental function that we call anything called consciousness or sensation to the existence of neurons. If you don't have neurons, you're not doing it. And even if you have neurons, you have to have enough neurons to do it. All right, we disagree on the implication of sensation. So that's probably the key thing here. You think it's okay to leave organisms in harm's way. It's the ability to be harmed severely, and that's the implication. There's lots of stuff out there, and it gets brutalized and killed, and it's enslaved to it. So I could bring up ants or bees or lots of organisms who, quite obviously, through the natural system, are bred to be slaves. There's no element that has anything to do with the quality of their life. The only consideration is the productivity of their life. They're entirely used by the master organism and the master DNA. And there's no opportunity for any quality of life, any good to be in there at all. And you're just lying to yourself with a fable if you think it's anything other than what it is, brutal, harsh slavery. But you don't want to fix that. You don't think it needs to be fixed because you're the. So it's not a life form that's cute and fuzzy. It's not. It doesn't pull at some emotional strain. And I would just equate that to being some kind of scenario where some aliens came here because they couldn't understand us in some way, which I think would be difficult not to understand us. But let's just say they can't understand that we are sentient, and they would just disregard our welfare. And that's all you're doing. So they can say it'd be okay if we were living in slavery. And every moment of our life was just a struggle to keep ourselves alive. And we just went from one brutality to the next brutality and just survived it. And you'd say it's a life worth living. I'd say that's insane. Let's see, okay. So he said, yes, he said the exact words, I don't justify it. And then he basically said, I say it has good and evil. Evil really wasn't the subject. That's an overt justification. If you don't justify it, then you say something like, I think it is without justification. You don't say, I say it has good and evil, implying that obviously it must have more of this good stuff than the bad stuff. That to you, the weight of the harm, the fact that most of the living organisms on planet Earth will be killed as children, that is not a significant enough fact to deter you from the fun of whatever the fun, good stuff is. It makes all of that okay. And that's your philosophy, and that's why we have a fundamental disagreement.
Well, we both agree that we're going to keep a living and play that game. So we're both making that decision, I think, that you just described. I decided to have children during a thought that I could make the world a better place by investing in trying to raise people that had a good attitude about making the world a better place. And that didn't work out. I
It's going to
was
create an
wrong.
automatic tension between us and an intolerance for any kind of bullshit. I mean, why, why should I interact with somebody who means me harm or means my kind harm? You're defending the victimization of the losers for the benefit of the good seekers. All right, fight the facts of nature. So that's the problem. You can't fix it. And the further down you make sentience go, the more impossible the fix becomes. So he's arguing that, well, we should fix it. We should fight it. We should fight nature. We should fight the injustices. There's no way to fight it. There's no way to fix it unless you exterminate it. You can't fix the lion-lamb problem. The lion's never lying down with the lamb. You're not going to fix the attrition that exists in the mammal world. Most of the mammals breed in huge numbers because most of their children will die horribly. That's not something you're going to fix. You're just going to whitewash it and pretend it's not a bad enough problem to say the game has to be stopped. You'll accept a certain number of murders to have your football game. Just doesn't. It's okay. I don't even know how high I could make the number or how brutal or horrible it is. How many baby elephants have to be eaten alive before you say it's too many? I wonder what the number would be. A zillion? Doesn't seem that it has any limit for you, right? Why don't you give me a number? How many? If I told you how many baby elephants got eaten alive by lions, and I told you that a certain number was going to happen, what would the number be? Where you say, gee, that's too many. We can't do this anymore.
Well, okay, that's a challenging question. I mean, none makes it not worth it, so let's try to reduce the number. I mean, what you're really asking is what number means you give up, right? You give up and you just kill all of the baby elephants and all of the baby lions and all of the people and all of the mice and all of the little families in all of the animal kingdom. At what point does the number of baby elephants that get killed make you want to kill everything? That's the question you're really asking. And so you're asking me to kill everything, and then you say, no, we're just going to let it die. And that's supposed to be different as a philosophical question. As a philosophical question, it isn't different.
What's the number have to be? So anyway, so yeah, there's this one part here, this 820. It was just too weird, so I thought I'd play it because it sounded insane to me.
For it, but I'm the one saying fight it. I think you're for it because you want all the responsible humans to go away.
I want all the. I don't want to fight it, and I want all the responsible humans to go away. I don't want to make sense out of that. I'm fighting it every way I can. I'm suggesting we minimize the harm. I'm suggesting it all the time. I'm saying we should give up having pets because we're creating too many stray animals. I'm fighting it by being a vegetarian, a vegan. I'm fighting it by arguing for the welfare of animals and for their liberation from medical experiments and all this other crap. So how am I not fighting it? I'm fighting it as hard as I can fight it. But you're saying we should fix it. Well, I'm saying, how are you going to fix it? What's your solution? It's what nature's built on, is the slaughter of children. That's how nature works. It finds things that are flawed and it kills them brutally. That's nature, asshole. And it's a shitty system, and it's a stupid game, and this whole trying to achieve the master race. I mean, that's all you people really are, right? You're just, well, we have to be here so we can become the master race and fly to another planet or something. Do something and put a flag in it to prove that we're the masters. Masters of what? A meat grinder. Fuck that. So, I guess I can play a little bit more, but it's always pretty bad. That's just me. All right, so they're saying things like look it up, which is just, that's the physics argument. And I have looked it up. I've played their videos and pointed out the lies in their videos, the overt lies in Feynman's videos, the overt misrepresenting the facts in the physics videos at places like MIT and Harvard. I've played the videos. I've detailed the crap on the web pages. I've pointed out that what they state to be the truth isn't the truth. It isn't factually correct. So fuck you. And your bullshit is when you go look it up. Well, the paramecium experiment, like I stated, was analyzed by somebody who wasn't full of shit. And it was easily discovered that all you had to do was turn the experiment upside down, and now the parameciums were twice as dumb. So it just doesn't make any sense to say they got smart when all that really matters is where the light was. Anyway, let's see. Never 100%. Okay, yeah, so he used this thing like I was for 100% inheritance tax and never argued that as policy. I have argued that in principle. I don't know why we want any cheating. We should, as dignified males with testicles, we all should be supporting some sort of fair fight. I mean, the whole idea that people embrace cheating and head starts just sounds like cowards and wimps to me. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to fight a midget and win? Sounds like a coward's road to success. So, and they point out cheating on inheritance tax. Well, the fact is we had much higher inheritance taxes 50 years ago. And yes, there's some effort, but even back then they could trace people's money. And guess what? It's easier than ever to trace people's money. Okay, because the more and more electronic it becomes, the more it's hard to hide it.
Not as easy as it is to trace real estate. Not nearly as easy as it is to trace real estate. Real estate, why, we already know every piece of real estate in the United States.
And clearly, we can pass legislation, meaning that we track all American dollars, and people who own stock, we can certainly track all that in the American Stock Exchange. And so there's nothing preventing us from knowing how much wealth people possess. Absolutely nothing. And following the money. And just like you can do an audit on somebody's taxes, you can do an audit on what employment their children have and how they got their jobs and all of that stuff. So cheating wouldn't be hard to discover. So that's just a bullshit argument. It's easier than it's ever been. We steal money from countries now. We just steal it because they can't hide it. It's hard to hide, asshole. So anyway,
With the help of commenters, I've just realized that watching this video is like playing a game from Idiocracy of Ow My Brain. Thanks, Harry.
let's see. Yeah, so it worked in the past, having an inherited stacks, and it can work now. So it's just a bullshit argument. So again, the stocks are an investment part. He still doesn't understand that when stock is issued, the person, the business who issues it gets a ton of investment capital. They get a ton of cash, like Google. Google got a ton of cash by issuing stock, and they have invested. That is, they have bought other companies with that capital. That's what they do with it. So it's kind of silly. It's venture capital, essentially. That's what people do with the wealth they gain through making it public. And every time the stock is sold, you're basically just selling the loan, essentially. It's a loan, but it's a loan that never has to be paid back, right? So it's a kind of a strange instrument, stocks. But you get paid a dividend if only like it was interest, but you never have to pay back the principal. That's the trick of it. It's a loan, but you never have to pay back the principal. But it's certainly investment capital, and the fact that you don't understand that is your bad. And frankly, anyway, it doesn't.
No, I do understand that perfectly well. They get paid because the IPO is saying we're going to sell our company. And if the company, everybody, the way the selling goes, it's worth 100 million, then people buy their stock and the stock is worth 100 million and they get 100 million dollars because they sold their company. See, before that, they owned their own company. They gave themselves preferred stock as investors, as a partnership, and then they converted that to public stock, and so they can sell it to a wider market, and then if the market pays them for that stock, then they get the money. And the company owns some of the money, some of the its own stock, generally, and so they get money for the part of that stock they sell. And everybody holds on to some stock, so the company still owns some of its stock. The original investors still own some of the stock. They can sell it when they like. And you're lying, because I'm sure I've never said what you just claimed I said. And since you can't possibly have a reason to know that I said that, you're lying, and you're a celebrator of lions. And lions kill baby elephants.
Doesn't really matter in this conversation because the implication of your argument is that somehow the wealthy have secured away all the investment capital, and there's actually a surplus of investment capital. There's actually too much capital now, and there's too few good things, profitable things to invest in. And you have to
Right, so let's spend that on jobs for immigrants.
understand that the only investments that people are going to invest their money on are ones that are going to make money. They can't invest in things that are going to fail because that's really stupid. And so most of the investments made now are to compete with existing businesses, which only degrade both of the businesses and sometimes just make the consumers pay more money in the end. So for a short time, you have more competition, but in the long run, you end up with a monopoly. So that's what happened in the search industry. You start off with a bunch of search engines, and then they just got killed by Google doing the William Randolph Hearst thing of, well, we'll just give it away for free and drive everybody else out of business. Yeah. And what we get in the end is, we get owned by a monopoly. All right, the agreement isn't the problem. So then he points out how we agree on some things. Well, that's not the problem. The problem is that your agreement has no meaning. Like just stating now, you just state now we shouldn't eat meat. Well, you never said that before. So anything we agree on, you never talk about. And the only thing you seem to talk about are the things we don't agree on. So that's really the problem. You keep advocating for something different than the things we agree on, and that sounds like we don't agree. When you start arguing for something different than what we agree on, then that sounds like a different plan, and that means we must not agree on the other plan. Duh. So, and some of the disagreements are, as I pointed out, they're just catastrophically unacceptable. Okay, so open borders is catastrophically unacceptable. Some stupid land tax is catastrophically unacceptable because, as I pointed out, I think it's no rich person will play the game as you think they're going to play. They won't cheat it. They'll quite legally evade it, and quite rationally so. And even if you conform it into some form that gives them less options, it doesn't matter in the end, because any expense you impose on them, they'll just impose it on the consumer. Because once again, you still don't understand how the economy works. The rich only invest in things that make profit. If you take the profit out of the business, they have to raise prices to get the profit back, or they have to screw their employees to get the profit back. So any tax you put on businesses just becomes a tax on consumption. So that's just stupid. You're not attacking the owners, quote unquote. You're taxing the function of the businesses, which is stupid. Let's see. People don't support. See, I brought up some kind of crap like that. Like I was arguing that popular support had something to do with this, and I never argued it's a better idea because people. Yeah, I didn't argue against the land tax because nobody would support it. I argued against it because it's stupid. Jeez. So yeah, so we're in a situation where people don't support raising any tax. So all taxes are, in a sense, you can argue about them all being unviable. And again, I'll just argue the arguments I've made is that if I had to defend a tax, I think the one easiest to defend is inheritance tax because it goes to this word fairness and earned. And these are rather powerful words. And in spite of death tax rhetoric, once people understand that the money the rich people have is actually the workers' money or the consumers' money, that's the only place they get their wealth from. They don't generate wealth. They take it out of consumers or they take it out of workers. They don't.
Well, here's something we could agree on, Gary, is let's get the death tax language changed to the patriotic tax or something. I don't know what.
Generate anything. But I'm just saying that argument is easier to make, I think, than obscure arguments about capital gains taxes. But clearly I would be for capital gains taxes being converted back into just regular taxes because, unlike what they consider to be some sort of unfairness, there is no unfairness because you're allowed to deduct from your taxes your losses, your capital gain losses. And so that fully compensates for the risk of the investment. And so it's kind of a moot argument. There's no reason to consider the income anything other than real income and tax at the same rate you tax a worker's income, which, frankly, a worker's income should be taxed less than somebody sitting on their ass making capital gains. The fact that we have that so backwards is just another one of these things where people are obviously idiots. And maybe we can agree that people obviously don't really understand the stupidity of the reward system we've created, where we give greater benefit and
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It should be taxed at the same, or more, like you're saying, but I don't think more. Also, like you seem to be saying, but it should be taxed the same. It's crazy. Um, Plus, they have a little gimmick so that poor people with just a little bit of investment, if you hold on to it for less than a certain amount of time, then you do pay the income tax rate. So they understand the principle.
greater luxury and greater privilege due to people not working and be brutalized and more harshly tax the people who are working. And I think once they understand that maybe they can figure out that, hey, that's stupid. And that might be a place where we can gain back some equity in the economy. But again, it's arguing approaches and arguing what is the compatible package. And that's why I have argued in defense of isolating subjects, because as I've stated, the problem in your public room, the problem in your room period is the change in subjects mean you're going to start getting on a subject or you're going to start saying something that's unacceptable. And I'm going to have to leave the table. It's disgusting crap. You're basically just explaining how you're an evil asshole. And why would I sup with you? So as soon as you get on the subject of your phantasmagorical bullshit, if you think there's some good that gives you the right to torture things, well, I'm going to say fuck you.
Well, I respect that insofar as, okay, you got to leave. As far as, I mean, a 3 to 8 hour hangout is probably going to have more than one topic. I mean, my complaint about your rooms that you used to run is I would show up and you guys were talking about movies and crap. So, but I also understood, I guess you wanted to. So, okay, I just did my best to repair them and bring them onto a subject that was actually, um, you know, more important, while also spending some time, hey, time bandits,
And as soon as you distract from the real economic problem of the rich being
trying to be a normal human.
rich and start talking about some other modified capitalism or some other kind of bullshit, you just create a non-starter. You just make it clear that you're not really interested in solving the problem because you're just talking a bunch of crap that won't solve the problem, just a stupid business tax. And then it's even worse than when you say something like open borders, and then we're really done, because clearly that's economically unviable. There's just absolutely no hope that could work. So those are really deep. I'm just saying you don't get how this is a real problem, but that's why Trump got elected, and it's a real problem. You want to pretend immigration is just...
No, I agree that the fact that people, especially right-wingers, think like you are saying, so I guess they think like you, that is why Trump got elected. I do admit that. What I didn't admit was that Hillary Clinton has my positions, and she was accused of having my positions, but I think if she had, like Bernie actually has, she might have won.
There's some sort of, it's just a bunch of different food in the world, and why should we worry about having extra food? That's not what immigration is. So, let's see. Yeah, so you just, so I would prefer to debate you on these subjects individually, including physics, and in individual videos, narrow to those subjects, and narrow to some sort of...
I'm totally willing to do that. If you make a video and say, here is the subject, so long as you keep to that subject, I will also keep to that subject. Right? I think I agree with you. This just spreads out. It fans out too much. So whatever the one issue is, make that clear. If I'm busy or something and don't see it, somebody please point it out to me, and I will focus on that subject. But definitely make sure to start out with a really clear statement of what the one subject is. And I'll limit myself to things related to the words and the sentences you use to describe the subject. So the more concise, the better. And we can try to focus in on that. And in fact, it would be good to actually, narrow the subject as we go. As we go, maybe every video we say, well, here's the subset of the subject. Here's the subset. Narrow it down even further, depending on how narrow you're able to make it to begin with.
Reasonable presentation of evidence, where you can't just say, look it up. Especially when I have already looked it up and done videos dissecting the evidence and such. Sorry, that's enough of this bullshit. But, I mean, this argument that I've lied about anything or I have misrepresented an opinion, especially in any malicious or deliberate way, is the most bogus pile of shit. And I find it really offensive. Like, unacceptably offensive.
Well, I'm sorry, but Gary, the amount that you do it is offensive. And if you want to say it's unintentional and not malicious, well, maybe you need to check your head and see if doing things that result in something that is equivalent to maliciousness doesn't count as maliciousness. Like, for example, if Trump isn't really personally a racist, like he hates black people, everyone he runs into. Looks like he might be that, but let's say he's not. But he is willing to use, to throw other races under the bus in order to win the presidency. Well, I would count that as malicious. I would count that as racist. But I don't hate them. No, but you're willing to exploit other people's hate for them, which shows that you have an unlove for them that I'm going to call that a kind of hate. All right, cheers. So I am going to start a hangout because there's some people in the chat. Now, I don't know if you're willing to go into a hangout, but I will start one, and we will see. I might be gone a little bit at the beginning. I just spent God only knows how many hours at this, an hour and a half. Okay. But before that, I'll start the Hangout and put the link, and people will be able to come in. All right. Cheers.